Before we begin, please note that this episode includes discussions of graphic violence, poverty, and harsh living conditions. It may also contain outdated terms relevant to the times discussed. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello everyone, and welcome back to London's Dark Archives. In this second episode, we'll delve into the heartbreaking stories of the first two victims of what became known as the Whitechapel murders. Emma Smith and Martha Tabram are the two we'll be talking about today. Although it's uncertain whether Emma Smith was a victim of Jack the Ripper, her tragic end marked the beginning of a series of brutal killings that would grip the East End of London in terror. Our story begins with Emma Smith, the first recorded victim of the Whitechapel murders. Emma Elizabeth Smith was a 45-year-old woman living a hard and transient life in the East End. She was about 5 feet tall and had a slight build. Her backstory is shrouded in mystery, but we know that she struggled with alcoholism, a common plight among the impoverished residents of Whitechapel. Emma worked sporadically, often turning to prostitution to survive, and she lived in various lodging houses, with her last known residence being a lodging house at 18 George Street. On the night of April 3rd, 1888, Emma was attacked. She was assaulted by a gang of men, an unfortunately common occurrence in the rough streets of Whitechapel. Emma herself stated she was attacked by a group, further suggesting that her murder was not the work of a single individual like Jack the Ripper. After the assault, Emma managed to stagger back to her lodging house. She was severely injured. She described her attackers to the lodging house keeper and a fellow lodger, saying they were a group of young men, and more perhaps local gang members. Despite her horrific injuries, which included a brutal assault and internal damage caused by a blunt object, Emma was able to make a statement to the police before she was taken to the London hospital. Sadly, she succumbed to her injuries the following day on April 4th, 1888. Her death was officially recorded as a murder, the first in what would become the Whitechapel murder series. Emma's case remains largely unsolved. Her statements and the witness accounts paint a picture of a violent, gang-related assault rather than the work of a solitary killer. This type of violence was tragically common in the East End, highlighting the dangerous and desperate environment the residents endured. Next, we turn to Martha Tabram, widely considered to be the first victim of Jack the Ripper. Martha Tabram was 39 years old, standing about 5 foot 3 inches tall, and like Emma, she lived a hard life in Whitechapel, often resorting to prostitution to make ends meet. Martha had a turbulent personal life, including a failed marriage and struggles with alcoholism. She lived in a common lodging house at 19 George Street, just a stone's throw from where Emma Smith had lived. On the night of August 6th, 1888, Martha was last seen with a man, possibly a soldier, in the company of her friend Mary Ann Connolly, also known as Pearlie Pole. The two women had been out drinking and were seen with two soldiers in Castle Alley. Martha and her companion left the group, heading towards George Yard buildings, where her body would be discovered the next morning. Martha was found lying on the first floor landing of George Yard's buildings, brutally murdered. She had been stabbed 39 times with wounds inflicted by at least 2 different weapons. The coroner, Dr. Killeen, noted the wounds were inflicted by a long, thin instrument, possibly a bayonet, and a shorter, stouter weapon, possibly a knife or penknife. This led to speculation that more than one person might have been involved in this attack. The ferocity and nature of the attack on Martha suggested a level of brutality that was shocking even by the standards of Whitechapel. Some theorised that her killer was the man she'd been seen with, possibly a soldier, while others believed that her death marked the beginning of Jack the Ripper's reign of terror. As we explore these cases, I'll be sharing my thoughts and theories on each. Starting with Emma Smith, it's clear to me that her murder was not the work of a single person we call Jack the Ripper. Her own account of being attacked by a gang aligns with the type of violence that was common in Whitechapel at that time. Martha Tabram's death, however, is more complex. The brutality of the attack and the use of multiple weapons point towards a more calculated assault. One possible theory is that the soldier she was last seen with inflicted the initial, ultimately fatal wound, possibly with his bayonet. It's conceivable that his friend seen with Martha and Pearly Pole that night helped to then finish the attack. But there's also a more chilling possibility. What if the initial attack was carried out by the soldier, and then, by gruesome chance, a fledgling serial killer happened upon her? An easy target to carry out his sick and depraved desires. This horrible excitement might have been the seed that bore the monster we know today as Jack the Ripper. Thank you for joining us on this journey into London's dark archives. In our next episode, we'll continue to uncover the story of the Whitechapel murders, exploring the lives of the victims and the terrifying events that unfolded on those dark, foggy nights. I'll be giving my thoughts and theories at the end of each episode, and once we've covered all the cases, I'll provide a comprehensive summary in a special episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. Stay tuned and stay safe.